Now, explaining now, we said before we have the Masois, the journey is to turn around the Midas from the Midbar Ha'amim, from the Yinika, from the Chitzonim, from the negative, to turn them around to Kedusha. That's why we journeyed. And what's the cheshbon of the 42, number 42? He said because the 7 midos, as they're included in 6 times 6, 7 times 6 is 42. Those are the 42 masos. He's going to articulate now, explain how all these additional midos, how they evolve. Like within the midas of chesed, you have the level of chesed, sheba chesed, and the gevura is going to give you some sampling. And the same thing in gevura. We have the gevura sheba chesed and gevura sheba gevura. So that means that each midah is included of 6. But by Sfiras HaOmer, we see, for example, over there it's 7 times 7. He talks also about the difference between the Aliyah over there, it's 7 times 7. That's why Sfiras HaOmer, we have 49. But by the Hamshacha, Milmai Lamata, we have only 6 times 7, which is 42. Let's look inside. Base. V'hinei, b'midas ava v'chesed. When we talk about the measure of ava and chesed, bo nichlal gam kein midas hagvura v'yira. So you also have included in it also the level of gevura and yira, which is yiras chet, the fear of sin. Sheyore lenafshe, that he's afraid for himself. Shaloi lepored miyichude v'achdusei al yidei shum chet v'omen. He doesn't want to be separate because he loves Hashem. It also includes the fear that he doesn't want to separate from the unity and the oneness. Al yidei shum chet v'omen, through no sin, no mistake, and no sin. Afilu isur kal shel divrei. Even if it should be as very light Isur Midrabanan, he's afraid. Why? Because the sins inevitably separate, and he loves Hashem. He wants to be with Hashem, and therefore he's afraid of a sin. So now we have chesed, and the gevura is because within Ava there's also yira chet, and also has the level of rachamim. What does it mean, midas rachamim? That's tiferes. Shaydei his bonus hanal, through the above reflection in the Ava Hashem Elokecha, like we talked before. Mamer gam ki rachamim rabim, he also arouses great compassion al mitzvot elokus hamachayes nafshi, on the godly spark which vitalizes his soul. And he has descended so low from a high place, a high roof, all the ways to below. Where do Yidden come from? Yidden come from a very high place because Ki Yaakov Chavel Nachalose. Yaakov meaning the Neshama, the Yidden, they are considered the rope of Hashem's inheritance. And we also know Yisrael, Olu b'machshava. So that's a very igra rama. That's a very high place. And it descended to dress up in a body and a vitalizing soul, lidoy, to worry, v'lachshoiv, and to think b'chol inyonei haguf, parnose v'tayves, all matters of the body, like his livelihood and desires. And like we see vividly, when the person sleeps, he doesn't have any worries. As soon as he wakes up from his sleep, all of his worries come back. They wake up, all the worries. So basically, it means that when you're up, you have all these worries. So that's a tremendous rachmanis for the soul to have to deal with all these things. It's also in the level of Rachel Lifnei Geizezeho, as we said before, that they get a little bit. Before we talked about the chitzonim, about the outers, that they get the level of sidus. But in this case also, it's they get the level of sidus. Shebchinas haneshama einam islabeshes beguf. The guf only gets a little bit of the neshama. Kima orah ma'eretz says b'chinas sidus. There's only a very small ha'orah from the neshama, which is the level of sidus. And that's like the sheep before the goyzezeho, meaning that shal yidei shemeira beguf. But we have the neshama shining in the guf. Gives aguf choyshev That's the way the person, the body thinks, thinks, and is deeply in the Yonim Gashmi. That comes from the fact that it's nimshach through the neshama. So those are the shirit. The shearing it is the neshama basically gives her and therefore harachmonas godlam ma'id al mitzvah likus. There's a great. That's the level of rachamim, which is at that level of ava. It's great mercy on this godly spark which is dressed up in the body. And that's why we ask Hashem, so we say, we say, in your compassion. So we don't say have compassion. We say your compassion. Because because we don't really have a grasp, an understanding, and a grasp in Hashem, because there's no thought that can capture him. So b'meila, we don't really understand Hashem, and because we don't understand Hashem, we don't realize how far we are. So we don't realize what big rachmanis, what big problems we are really, that the great compassion. So we're saying, Hashem, you know what a rachmanis is on us, because we don't really get it. Have compassion. That's why we don't grasp how great the mercy is. Who is Barech, but he blessed, Shahu Hamadavu Hayedeya. Shem is the one that is the knowledge, and he knows he knows his essence. The precious beauty of Hashem's greatness. Hashem himself knows that. So that's what we're asking you. We're saying, Rachamecha, you know. That is nothing. That's what we're saying. Rachim Aleinu, have mercy on us. That's why from Tiferes above, because that's the higher level. From that level comes Rachamim, because that's beyond our capacity. That is Hashem's Tiferes that brings us the Racham. So, because B'Kriya Shema, so this is when he reads the Shema, that he reflects in the level of the Yichud Ilah, in his understanding and his grasp. He gets that level of Ava, the level of Gevura, the level of Tiferes. All this comes to him. Over there he can employ the Chesed, the Gevura, the Tiferes. He has at least, he knows that we have to ask Hashem for Rachamim, but the Gevura, he knows he has. But what happens Kol HaYom, all day, Shacharat Tefillah, after the davening? He no longer has that reflection. And okay, so why does he stop davening? You can't daven all day. The Yevshel is Palu Kol Hayom. Can't daven all day. Mamer Razal, say this, tell us. Halavai she's Palu Kol Hayom. We wish a person could daven. That means a person essentially cannot daven all day. It's wishful that he would daven. So how do we preserve that level of experience that we had during the davening? How do we have it all day? So now we talked about Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. Now we're talking about Netzach, Nitzachim. That's the hidden love which every Yid has naturally from birth. Yaakov mentioned before, Yaakov is the rope, Hashem's inheritance. We are part of Hashem. Because of the fact that we are part of Hashem, and that's why they have this great love naturally. And the Lachein, and that's why they're called Nikra Am Kshe'odev. That's what we call them, stubborn, stiff-necked nation. Why? Because we always have that Ava. Ava is always there. That's why our sages of blessed memory say that Gimel Azim, there are three strong Gimel Azim, hey, and amongst the nations, Yisrael b'umes, that amongst the nation, Yidden are the strong ones amongst the nation. Why? Shem b'tivam azim b'chazokim. That's naturally they are strong and forceful b'midas hanitzuach, in the measure of nitzachin, of victories. La'avos Hashem b'ava rabbe, to love Hashem with His great love, abalishum is bernis, even without any reflection. So all day you employ that level of nitzachin, that level of netzach, that quality to love Hashem without any zbernus. This is the rule, the halacha that has been ruled. Shekeinu adin. That's the law. There's no reason, there's no logic. This is the halacha, and that's it. So the same thing, he knows, the person knows the connection to Hashem needs to be all the time. And that's the Ava Rabba, that's the Nitzachah. This can also be, this is also the meaning, which the person daven all day, meaning that that level of Nitzachah should actually permeate the person all day. Because this is the agreement that is the decision that is made up from the davening when he reflected. That is the mispala. That's why he's davening all day, which means that's the hemshech. Pirush Meitzach Aaron, meaning of the forehead of Aaron, who asked him, he talks about that is the decision. Metzach, the Netzach, who b'china achas. Metzach is the one b'china, because here we're talking about the idea of Netzach, which goes to be Inyan, v'gam Netzach Yisrael lo yishaychu. B'china Zu, what do you have with it? B'china zu or zehu? Huh? Should be l'chayr b'china zu. Shehera HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But to me, it seems that it should say here zeh. B'china zu zeh. I'll just make a note of here. Okay. B'china or b'china zu, not zeh, but b'china zu. Seems that zehu. That's the grammar seems more likely. Anyways. That's Hashem showed to our father Yaakov. The later generation is going to be generations lately. They're not going to have Ava through reflection. They're not going to be able, their mind is going to be too small from containing this wide reflection. They'll have this midah of nitzoch. And this, it says that if men wrestled with him, with Yaakov, and it touched in the spoon of his thigh, meaning those are the bottom parts of the Bnei Yisrael. They have to struggle, but they're going to have that level of Bayovik. So that's the level of Netzach Shebe Chesed, of the Ava. Then you have Hoidah. Hoidah Shemoida Lemes. The Hoidah that he admits of the truth. Shekenu. That this is the truth. Even if he doesn't understand it in his mind, he has that Ava is agreed. What does it mean? We admit, even though we don't understand, we agree that there is, we are admit. So we sometimes say Baruch, and sometimes we say Moedim. There's a difference between bracha and Haidah. When you say Loshen bracha, when you say bracha, that means you draw down from the hidden to the revealed. Loshen bricha meaning a drawing, a pool. In other words, you bring down, you're mamshechit, so you get a revelation. But the idea of Moedim is you admit you don't get it. It's not, it's above you. Over there, it's not something that you grasp and reason and knowledge. You are just admitting, as I said before. So those are the parshas b'midbar b'divrei maschil, v'hoyer mispa b'nei Yisrael, gabei v'nikbetzu b'nei Yisrael b'nei Yehuda. Over there also Yehuda is the level of Haidah, and there the discussions over there too. Then you have the Yisoid. So now we went through Chesed, Shebe Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hoid, and finally the sixth midah is Yisoid. Yisoid u'bechinas iskashus. Yisoid is the level of tying down. Shamekasher daitei b'choizek b'oimetz b'oimek hadas. That you tie your mind with force and with strength and depth of your das. Yesh b'chinazu b'chol hamidah. This level of Yisoid is in every midah. Hein ba'ava. Whether we're talking about the level of Ava and also the level of Yira. That's when it says, in the Pasuk, and then we say Kikol Bashamayim. That's the level of Kol Bashamayim, level of Yisrael. So this is the level we discussed in Ava. So we did this showed how each midah has 6 parts to it in it. All the levels also have to be in the level of Yira. Through the person's reflection in Hashem's unity and oneness, then you accept the yoke of the heavenly kingdom with a willingly and with want, with love. So basically it means the Gevura, the Malchus, the Yira, you accept with love. So that's the Ava. That yoke should not be a load. Pasuk says, love Hashem, for is your life. So you're happy with that. That's the Kabbalah Malchus Shemayim. as the pasuk says, Tzoim tosim alecha melech, and we're saying, so make Hashem your king, accept his kingdom, ki hu chayecha, because he's your life. Yiras Hashem l'chayim. The fear of Hashem brings you life. That's the chayecha. For all the energy, the vitality of the world is from level malchus. Malchus kol leilamim. That the Eibishter is the king of all the world, which means there is nothing else besides Hashem. Hashem vitalizes everything. If you fear Hashem, you get the chayim because there is nothing else besides Hashem. So you're connecting with Hashem. So why is the Eibishter create all these olamis? Is because in order to be a king, there needs to be an am. And therefore, it turns out, because you have this cheshbon, you're not going to be afraid yira from the level of fear, but you're going to love out of the level of Abba. Your fear is going to come because of love, because of the Yitzchayecha. They'll accept the love of the kingdom with love. So it says they all accept the yoke of the heavenly kingdom and they give with love. So you see there's the level of love in that Kabbalah. That's the chesed in the Gemara. So that's the also don't kick. If Hashem brings pains on you, that will be the Gevura Hashem Gevura. Kimelech b'mishpat yamid oretz, because a king needs to sustain the world through judgment. So sometimes there is judgment, sometimes there is Yisurim. That's the level of Gevura Hashem Gevura. Idei is bonus now. When you're going to reflect, tipel elov eimov afachad b'chinas yira. You get the level of reflecting and all this. Brings you the level of Yira. And this also includes the level of Rachmanis, the third level, the level of Tiferes. When the person says that he does not really become affected from all these reflections, the fear of Hashem is not against his eyes. In other words, he doesn't have the Yiras Hashem. And he's compared like an animal that doesn't see, doesn't understand anything. Equated. So he will arouse great compassion on his soul. And he will ask for compassion in his prayer, in his davening. There should be the revelations of Hashem's kingdom. So that's all in the level of Gevura. He showed you now the three levels of Ava Shebigvura, which is to fear Hashem with love, because Kuchayecha. Then lo yivayid bi yisurim. That's the Gevura Shebigvura, not to push away the yisurim and kick at them. And also the level of Rachmim, because if he doesn't get Rachmanis, that's first. Zeu Baruch Ato Havayim. And this is what we say, Baruch Ato Hashem, which means Sheyir B'chinas is Galus, V'loi B'chinas Hester. We're asking Hashem be revealed. Not that Zeu Sha'amru Rizal. And this is why our sage blessed memory says, Al Yasa Odom Tfilos Keva, Al Rachmim V'tachnun V'nei Amokim. Let the person not make his prayer as a said, but always compassion. Also use the Rosh Rachamim. So, Lifnei Hamokim, you have to make it in a way of compassion. Mokim hu b'chinas yichudei lo. Mokim, that is the level of space, which is the level where yichudei lo, which means that there is no, it's only Hashem. Hu mekoymer shel olam. So Hashem is the place of the world, not the world, the place. Not he's not in the world. Sheyivakesh rachamim. He asks rachamim sheyi b'china zu lifnei hamokoyim b'gilui. Sheyi is galus elokus. It should not be yichud tato. Should be yichud ilah. It should be the revelation. Also, the detail of the midas, as we said before, he went through before. The netzach hoid yisoid also apply klum gam ki mitzvah gvura. You know, v'chein kol zayin midas uproteyem. All the 7 midas at the detail yihafich l'Hashem levadei should be turned around to just to Hashem. The bottle, the kol of the bottle, the yichudah v'achadus is baruch, to be included and subjugated in Hashem's unity and oneness. Zeu b'chinas membeis masos shisha pa'amim zayin. That's the 42 masos. That's 6 times 7 hey membeis, which is 42. Now, if you notice over here, we didn't call the level of malchus. We went through the 6 in each one. We went through chesed, gvura, netzach, tiferes, hoid, yisoid. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hoid Yisoid, 6. What about Malchus? So now, Nois Gimel is going to explain how there is also the idea of 7 times 7. Here we have 6 times 7. There's also the idea of 7 times 7. Gimel. V'hinei, mimaylo lemato, when we go from above to below, the Hamshacha. Here we're talking about the journeys, we're elevating, we're saying the 6. But when we get from above, and in that case is the Memtes, hey Memtes, then you got 49. 7. Kimoi, Sfiras HaOmer, by Sfiras HaOmer, Shemamshichim Makifim, Melamayla Lemato. Over there you have the 7th level, that you bring down the level of Makifim from above to below, to all the 7 midas. So you're mamshich that 7th level into all the midas. We employ 6, but when we get from above, we employ the 7. Hayoim yoim chulu. Hayoim yoim is today is the day, that is the light, that is the amshachim elamaylo to each one. Kol protei. The hainu, which it means also gam bechinas malchus b'chol midah. Over there we also have the level of malchus in every midah. It's the lecho Hashem hamamlocha. That's the lecho Hashem hamamlocha. Bechinas yesh v'gilui. So that this should be in a yesh and revealed k'mosh shikosu l'hanchil oyev yesh. Over there, to give the loved one, yes, the Eibshter gives us that level of malchus, level of yesh. Mashenkin hamasos shehem ematel ma'il, as opposed to the masos that are from below to above. Einam ki im shisha levad b'chol midah. There's only 6. Why? Over there, we don't want kitzorich liyas. Over there, we don't want the 6th level, the 7th level. The 7th level is an entity to be a yesh. Kitzorich liyas b'chinas ayin, v'loy b'chinas yesh lahargish midos. You have to be in a way of not to be an entity to feel your midos. I don't know in which direction I go. Why? How could it be? Because he didn't know and he didn't feel the level of Aviri, not supposed to be the Yesh. So he didn't know. That's why he said, I don't know where I'm going. Even though he was a great Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. That means we don't want that 7th level, that Yesh. Milmailo, you get the Yesh, but not from above. And now he's going to explain why does it say B'yad Moshe Ba'arim. So he says, in the Masos Arim. We also needed Arin. Arin Oisios Nira. Arin has the same letter as the word Nira appears. Shubchinas Gilui Min Hahelam. That is the revealed from the hidden to bring about the person from what's inside them into the open, those masois, the change, the midas, and everything. That's Aren. Kibashikosuf, Ubahalis Aren and Sanedis. Aren raised the natives. Doesn't say he lit them. He didn't like, he brought them up. What does it mean he lit? What does it mean that he brought up? The natives are Jewish souls. That's the lamp of Hashem. Is the neshamas? Those are the natives that is lighting. He brings them up to the face of the natives. Pirus shehela oisom. He raises them sheyibem gilu b'chinas neira baynish v'sodom, so that the Yidden experience the revelation of the neir of the neshama should be in them. Aren raises them. That means the level of the support for the queen. It says Aren helps the king. That's Shushvina. I mean, Moshe is Shushvina, the Malka. He's the king's support, brings down the Eibishter Lamata. And Aren brings up, he's the support for the queen. That's why all the masters, the Rebbe asked before, well, some of them came after Aaron's passing, some of those masters. But they're all called Shu Echad Meshivaroim, Hamefarnesim L'Neshamas Yisrael. He's one of the 7 shepherds that support the Neshamas Yisrael. V'gam HaKoyin HaGodol, Hashem Ibonov, Yishpoit, what's the next word by you? I don't have it. Yishpoit, Hashem Ibonov Yishpoit. Hashem Ibonov Yishpoit. Oh, yes. Yes, boy, Bechina Zu, okay. Yes, Bechina Zachulu, Shenikra, Shushvina, the Matronisa. So all the Kohen Gadol, because the Kohen Gadol, and that's done because the Kohen Gadol is the one that is Mila the Natives. Ba'ayim Hashekosu, Beparshas Mikates, the Ramaschal Inyan Chanukah, Beparsh Baloischa Aposuk, Baloischa Saneves. Hine, Kol HaMem Beis, Kol Beis Memes Masos, and Bechinas, they're the level of going from below to above, running up. That's the masois. So we have the journeys and then we have the resting. The journey is the elevation, constantly refinement of the midas, all the midas. So in Kriya Shema, this is also what the idea of Kriya Shema. And we know Shebeparsha Shema Yesham Mem Beis Tevin. There are 42 letters. Miva Hafta Ad Ubisharecha. From the word Vahafta, not including Shema Yisrael, but from Hafta till Ubisharecha, there's 42 words. So that's the idea of the Shuv. That's the level of Shuv. Shuv comes after the Rotze of Kriya Shema, but B'chinas Shemaina Esrei Sha'achar Kriya Shema. That's the Amida, the 18 brachas that come after Kriya Shema. She'emrim Baruch Ato Avayim. So Baruch is Baruch Hu Meloshen Baruch Bericha. That comes from the Lashon of a pool. She'yuvrach, extend v'yumshach. Liyez B'chinas Gilui B'chinas Ato. Baruch Ato. We want that the Ato should be revealed. Shehu L'noichach. That is present. We say you, which means you should become L'noichach. So, and this is what we say, Ubenuchai, when they rested, Yoimer Shuv. To say to the Shuv. Hine, Iker v'tachlis nisi osam, hoyo lotzis mebchinas Mitzrayim mebchinas Meitzah Gvul. Why did they travel? That is to go out from the limitations. From Meitzah Gvul. And he's going to explain that that's why we're constantly going out of Mitzrayim. Yes, the physical Mitzrayim, they left the first time, but the idea is to get out of limitation. They haven't gone out of the limitation until they come to Yericha. So I feel like Gan Eden Elyon, even Gan Eden Elyon is a level of Gvul Mitzvah. It's understanding. All the 42 journeys, everything calls Asher Yotzu Meretz Mitzrayim. They're all still going out of Eretz Mitzrayim. Till you come to Yad Yereche. Yereche is already the level of smell. The level of smell is the level of makif, the level of mitzvahs. Over there, you go out of the limitations. That's the level of reach. In the level of reach, that's a small shine from the essence, a smell of it. Like the pasuk says, the smell of your nose is like the apples. But smell isn't the apple itself, it's a smell of the apple. So so he smells the reich begodov. So what is the smell in the garment brings the brach blocha, that it brings the hamshocha. I smell your garments. So somehow there is a connection over there to the smell with the garment. What is the garments? Garments are mitzvahs. They surround. They are higher than the they are the level of rotzen which are higher than understanding. That is Hashem's will, which is beyond chokhmah v'hasoga. Torah comes from chokhmah. Why? Because Torah you understand. That's why you enjoy the Shechina, it says, because you can understand it. Then there's no understanding over there. That's why our sages tell us, because in 1 hour of tshuva and good deeds in this world, which is the mitzvahs, you get the level of rotzen, you get the level which is higher than what you can understand than the ziva shchina from olam haba. We're naming ziva shchina who comes level chokhmah. Uschar mitzvah is the mitzvah. What does it mean? Schar mitzvah. It means to say that the reward of the mitzvah is getting to the higher level, to the level of the mitzvah, to the makifim, to the level of rotzen. The reward, it's the mitzvah, not olam haba, is the reward, but the reward is the mitzvah itself. And that's why it says, after he smelled the reich begodov, that from the level of reich, which is the mitzvah bracha metal hashamayim, that from the level you get the metal hashamayim, shitar Torah shebiksav, that's called the dew of the heavens. Mishmane haaretz, which is Torah shebal peh. They come through chokhmah, but they come from the level of rotzen. Their source and root of Torah shebiksav and Torah shebal peh. Yes, they're mechokhmah nafke, they have a soga, but their root comes from the reich begodov, which is makif sholamayla machokhmah bina, which is higher than chokhmah bina shehu shem Torah shebiksav shebal peh. That is higher. Dainu b'chinas rotzen elyon. This is the will of the above, which is higher than the level of chokhmah bina Torah shebiksav Torah shebal peh. L'chein ein bei b'chinas hasoga ki b'chinas reich. That's why there is no grasping. It's only a level of smell which is beyond understanding. So what is nichoyach? To come down a level. That from the reach it becomes reach lowers to havaya, leaves havaya. To bring a very high new level. That comes down, I guess, into the level of Torah. And in the future, this level will be revealed. When it says about Mashiach, Hashem will give him the Yiras Hashem to Reach. Not to Bareh. The Melech V'Doyin, he will smell, and that means from the higher level. That is Yerecha means the smell. That's when you get out of Mitzrayim. And this is sufficient for the one who understands.